Alright, so I just pulled up your last game that you lost in your match history, so this one I think you won like 13-5 or something like that. So I'm gonna just talk about things that in general you should be thinking about, and some of it may apply to this game, some of it not, but since we haven't really discussed too much before, the first thing you want to do before every game is come up with a game plan. So you basically need to create a win condition for your team as a jungler, right? You need to figure out how you're going to take this game that's equal at 0-0-0 and create a win condition for your team and turn that into objectives and so on. So the first thing you want to do in regards to that is look at the team compositions and come up with how you're going to path. So you look, your team's got Renekton, Yasuo, Draven, Nami, and the other team has Nasus, Varus, Nautilus, Mordekaiser mid. So like, for instance, that Renekton into Nasus, Renekton has a strong winning matchup. He's probably going to be pushing the Nasus early. So is there going to be a gank potential here? So the answer to that question is like a little more complicated than if they're pushing or not. So if it's pushing, there's a chance that the Renekton might get ganked. So you could possibly set up a counter gank if you path from off the top. If he's really beating into the Nasus, as the Nasus tries to farm creeps, then the Nasus will be low health and you could potentially set up an early dive, right? So something to consider. Mid lane matchup you got, and also like something to consider, right, is Nasus is an easy gank because he has no mobility. But like I said, early game he'll probably be pushed, so we already talked about that. Mid game, so in the mid lane you got Yasuo and you got Mordekaiser. I don't really know who has like more advantage than the other. I would imagine that Mordekaiser has like the better wave clear early, so he might have the push advantage. Might be equal. I'm not too sure. But Mordekaiser is one of those champions who also has no mobility and no real hard range CC. I mean, his pull he can potentially use to try to, if he's good with it, to try to like get you to get off of him. But right, mid lane's potentially gankable, and then bot lane you have Draven Nami, which is a really strong lane, into Varus Nautilus, which is also a really strong lane. So what really is going to decide something like that lane is like whoever gets to level 2 first. So generally though, like Draven lanes are always pushing, but for sure Varus and Nautilus can stand up to that lane. So it just kind of depends on how they play it. So with all that in mind, you also want to consider where you think the enemy jungler is going to start. If you can beat him 1v1 and so on. Realistically, you can't beat Warwick 1v1, especially early game. So you're not like necessarily looking to invade. I mean, you could try to do like a red to red cheese, but yeah. So if you were to start red, I mean, with Kha'Zix, I kind of either do a full clear or I rush level 3 gank if I really think that gank's like high probability. So in a case like this, like I would probably just go for, I'd probably start top side and then go look to like work my way down, because bot lane and mid are probably going to be the most gankable lanes. But you could also go for like a level 3 rush and see if you could either protect your Renekton and counter gank or look for a dive top. So, alright, we're going to fast forward. Okay, you're laid out the gate, which is a problem because it doesn't. You always want to make sure you get out of the gate as soon as possible in case your team gets invaded. That did Nautilus, so it's definitely possible they could have invaded. You want to help your team do defense. Your bot lane was covering the most common invade route though, so that's good. But someone should have stood in the mid. I guess this guy warded it, so you guys were okay. But in the future. Okay, you shouldn't have smited the small one. you can easily kite the small one out and then kill that before the big one really even hits you. If you drag it like this, if you drag it to the left. Okay. This is fine. Your bot lane's being shoved in. Definitely wouldn't go for a gank on that anyway, so. Alright, top lane is going as predicted here. Guys got the shove in. So what's good about this, what this Renekton's actually done is, well, he's not really managing the wave well, but he could have potentially had the wave bounce back to him. I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. Alright, so you're just doing the standard red into Krugs and see like you see this Warwick's position for a gank. I mean, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, right? Like you knew that the Renekton was going to be shoved up because he's into Nasus lane, so you could have done right. You could have just done red, you could have done wolves, and you could have done like blue and Gromp, right? And then like you would be here potentially for a counter gank. So it's okay that you're not in the sense that like you went for a standard full clear route, but this is something that even like myself predicted, right? So it's just something you got to keep thinking of, and hopefully like when I press play here, you're gonna go over the blast cone and try to react to the gank here because there's a chance he could live, but we'll see what you do. Okay, so he gets out. That's good. Realistically, though, you probably should have not been doing this, and you should have started walking the top lane in case he needed your help. At least you decided to kite it that way. Your mid lane's getting shit on. There's gonna come a certain point, especially after level 6, where like general rule of thumb is that you don't want to gank a lane where you don't want to gank your losing lanes, and it's all within reason, right? Like if your top lane Renekton's only down like one death to this Nasus, right? It's not a big deal if the Nasus doesn't have like a lot of stacks or items, right? But like, or if potentially like your bot lane was like I don't know like 1 and 3, like you could still gank. But once the laning opponent gets so far ahead that you can't even gank without dying 1v2, then you just never gank the lane anymore. You don't like try to help losing lanes like that. So the general rule of thumb is you always want to help the lanes that are at least neutral ahead. You want to help snowball those lanes. So you wasted a lot of time top, but this kind of works out for you. It looks like so. Or does it? All right. See, so like again, like I had already mentioned earlier that I don't think you should have invaded the Warwick. I'd have to watch this fight again. It doesn't look like you did a good job of kiting. Like you were just like you played the fight wrong too. So let me go back and talk about two things. Like one is you wasted a lot of time by standing in this tri-bush looking for this gank that like realistically just wasn't going to happen. Like you already know that the Renekton's shoving and that he's pushing this Nasus to turret every time. You don't realistically have a good dive set up because this guy still has his sums and he's about half health. So like it is possible you could dive this, but it would be a little bit risky. So you ended up just sitting here in the tri-bush. Like, here's the thing. In that time that you spent in the tri-bush, you could have at least taken Gromp, right? Or you could have gone to Wolves and done the Gromp. You could have done both of these things. Time is the most valuable resource as a jungler. Like, time spent doing nothing as a jungler is time spent losing. Because the jungle is, like top lane and mid lane and bot lane, that's the position where, like, okay, like, you can just farm it out and scale and all that. But as a top laner, if you're not actively making plays, then you're just actively losing. That's just how it is. So now we continue further down to what I was saying is that you don't really want to be invading a champion that's stronger than you 1v1, which is a mistake that you just made here. Now let me scroll back. Though, see, like here's the thing: when you do invade, you do have a slight advantage. One, you get to attack them first because if they're like face checking a bush in this scenario, you can get a lot of damage. So sometimes these things can tip into your favor. Another thing is it's possible that he had used his abilities on the camps. So if he had used his abilities on camps, they're on CD. Okay, we're going to go back a little bit and just talk about how you could have played this fight better. Again, you wasted, like you shouldn't have been here in the first place, in my opinion, because you wasted a lot of time just sitting in this tri-bush. And for a gank that, like, realistically wasn't going to happen, like, I mean, he's full health at this point, right? And then he goes in for a trading half health him, and now, like, Renekton's on whatever CD, right? So this gank, like, not realistic. Okay, you waste time. Here's the thing. Okay, this guy has all of his abilities to go for his W's chase. All right, you go and you hit him first. Now you need to kite him out. Okay, see. We're gonna go through this very slowly. I'm gonna walk you through this play by play. Okay. So we're gonna stop here. First and foremost, he sees you coming before you see him, so you don't have the surprise advantage. He has red buff and you don't. Now let's talk about how we want to fight as Kha'Zix and how Warwick wants to fight. Warwick wants to take a bulk of your damage while he has his fear up, because his fear has damage reduction. And then you'll be feared, and he'll be able to attack you for a bit to lifesteal. Especially if he's below half health, he'll start to attack very fast. And so, as Kha'Zix, your ideal way of fighting is to kite someone. So you want to go in, auto Q W, walk backwards, and then try to get your Q off of cooldown again, and keep using your Q. You're not going to beat this guy in a raw auto attack battle, because not only does his auto attacks do more damage, he's going to be life stealing off of you. So you also have your dash that you could use to help you kite him in this scenario, which you also don't use to even like get additional damage. So as Kha'Zix, especially early game, you need to make sure you're kiting your opponents in the fight, or you're going to lose. but you're already going into this at a disadvantage in sight. Okay. So he comes in, right? You auto him, and you Q him when he has a spear up, so he's taking reduced damage. Okay, now you need to start running. This is when you would want to start running, because he's about to fear you, and he has a damage reduction. Now he's about to he's going to lifesteal very quickly here. But you should have already been walking away from him. And if you had already been walking away from him, he would have to walk closer to you in order to start auto-attacking you again. Okay, at this point it looks like you're going to win, but then he's going to eventually get his Q up. And he's actually playing this horribly. You see how much walking he did between his auto attacks because he like walked out of the bush and didn't have vision any longer? He actually fucked up this fight so bad, and you're literally just standing here taking a beating. And you also could have eaten him probably at a certain point. I think you could have finished him off at one point had you just eat. And you can also use your abilities to cancel the end lag of your auto attack animation, which you should have been doing as well, which you could have done with your E. Right? Slowing it down a little bit, but okay, so he's autoing you. You do like another auto here. All right, and now if you just done auto E right here, auto E, he's probably dead. But you didn't do the E, so now he just kills you. Okay, anyway, enough time wasted on that. So that was a big mistake by you. So here's now what we're looking at. You guys have equal CS, but he got a kill and he had ganked top lane. So not only did this guy like have same CS, he already got a gank off to get to chunk your top laner, and he killed you. Which, by the way, that his gank top lane was really bad because he didn't get a flash and he didn't get kill or anything like that. So like if you had just continued to clear your jungle, you'd have been way better off than what you had just done. Okay, so at this point, you need to figure out where you're going to path. Every time you base, you want to have a game plan of like how you want to path, right? It took you quite some time to buy. Like, I guess you're renting for Ratsmite or whatever. The logistical thing here, in my opinion, would be to go bot, and the reason why is because Krug's now respawning, and they're going to be level 3, so you can get more experience and gold by clearing out your bot thing than going by top, so that's good. Also, as we've already talked about, like, top's not looking like a great gank. I mean, at this point, he's chunking him out, but the Renekton's not doing the best job of managing the wave, but at least he's getting some trade damage in. Your bot lane right now is actually winning, so you could potentially, they're winning. So you could potentially get some good ganks in there as well. So you should be like looking to gank bot potentially here. And I'm not talking about as much of tracking here as I should be, because there's just so many things to say, and I'm not trying to like make this video last forever, but like you should have been able to, like, what I would have assumed here is like after the Warwick had killed you, and like he probably would have killed Krugs, or like mostly he killed Krugs, but like he knew he had cleared out his top set camps, so it would make logistical sense that he would be in the bottom side. But instead of basing, he actually just walked to the bottom gromp and killed that. So this guy actually did like a really suboptimal path, because like he should have killed the wolves as well to make sure that his camp timings were on the same. So he did some like weird shit, but that's fine. Renekton decides he's going for a dive. That was well played. It's well played by him. This guy is soaking up a lot of damage, so he's soaking up a lot of jungle attention as well. So like this work is now failing on repeat. Like if you just hadn't died in the jungle, this guy would be completely useless. Like his gank attempts have just been complete fails. So at least you're building a CS advantage on him, I guess. But and like it's okay to try to get to level 6 versus Kha'Zix, because your R evolve is just so good for ganking. Mid lane at this point is a complete lost cause, so you don't want to gank there at all. This guy's died 3 times. This guy's incredibly strong. He'll probably, like, if not 1v2, he'll easily just take 1v to the Shadow Realm and kill you, so. You're sitting at 923 gold. You probably should have just chilled and probably gone for the top crab, though he would have been there. But that's what I would have done. I probably would have just chilled for the top crab, and then I would have based on that gold, and then gotten double long sword in my boots, and then headed towards the bot side, grabbed red, and like ganked bot. At this point, though, like, you should be looking bot lane for a potential gank, but here's the problem is you're half health-ish, so, like, if you go in too early before they initiate, then the Nautilus can just grab you, and Varus can just kill you, like, one-shot you, so there's still definitely a gank to be had here, but you just have to be careful. Hopefully your bot lane's communicating to you that this is warded. Looks like they're not, but Enemy team clearly knows that you're there. So here's more wasted time. Here's time that you're wasting. At this point, like you see how they're playing back. Like this is like not a position that you really want to be in. Like you didn't need them to place the pink ward for them to know you're there. After they place the pink ward, it's usually really obvious to the enemy team that like basically like you want to leave. Like what you're doing is the proper thing, because if you stay here and try to like mind game the enemy into like thinking you left but you didn't really, then like see how this ward came down for like potential counter gank. It just made a lot of sense. You need to stop doing your Krugs right now and go help your bot lane. I don't know what you're doing, my man. Like you always, if you're in the area, you always want to stop doing your camp and go and react. Like you just never know what's gonna happen. Like in this case, like maybe it wouldn't have mattered, but like what if like your team had survived and like ran back towards the turret and then like they tried to tower dive, or maybe it was a closer fight than you had thought. Like you should have been fighting. Okay, I'm guessing you went for the R evolve. I don't know what it looks like on the skin, but since you changed color, I'm assuming that's the case. That's good. I think the R evolve's better for ganking. Q is better for like 1v1. So this is actually a game where you could have gone Q evolve first, just because they have like some beefy boys that you'd have extended fights with, like Warwick and Nasus and all that. You'd have Nautilus, like Mordekaiser, right? So like a lot of people that you could get extended battles with. So I think this could be a contender for the Q evolve, but it's fine. R evolve is really good. Okay, not worth it to kill yourself here. All right, at least you got out. Ocean Dragon's just not worth it, my man. Like that, like it's like okay, so like in a case like that, like you're essentially 50-50ing the smite, but it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily 50-50 just because right they're gonna have everyone in the pit like crowd controlling you and all that. So like for like a low chance like steal on the dragon on an ocean dragon, like if it was mountain or infernal, I'd get it, but for ocean, it's not worth it. It's just more time. It's like now you just wasted your flash and your time. Like the story of this game is you're just wasting a metric fuckload of time. So you're not really helping like your team get as much, or you're also not farming as much as you could have been. So like one or the other. This guy does an interesting dive. Yeah, he's dead. This guy's questionable. That was actually good for you. Pretty sure that dude was worth like. Yeah. Okay. So sad to say, but you can already see here that like this Warwick who's fucking up on constant repeat is at least applying more pressure on the map and getting more objectives than you are. He has more CS than you despite fucking up many of his ganks. So like how does this guy like how does this guy fail gank so much? Well, you've just wasted so much time, just like standing in a tri bush, invading, going into the bottom bush, and then like not leaving as soon as like you notice that they were like acting weird, right? Like you wasted time like potentially trying to steal Ocean Dragon. It's just not worth it. So like okay, so from here you need to figure out because Dragon's generally like, one of the first objectives, that or the first tower. And every time you kill people, if applicable, you want to help them push the wave so you can get some turret plates, because that's gold that potentially goes away. So in this state of the game, you need to be figuring out what's the best lane right now for me to gank so that I can get the first turret, right? So that's either going to be bot or top in this case. Top because he's winning pretty decently hard, and your bot as well is well, your bot's losing at this point just because of that one gank that Warwick had, but you could potentially go there. I think top would be the best deal here. So in order to do so, you either help this guy dive the Nasus, which is possible, or you can try to go for lane gank when the lane resets. Because if Renekton pushes a full wave to the turret before the next one, like basically like in a case where Renekton pushes a full wave to turret, it's generally going to reset. I could go into more wave management stuff. If you get more than one wave to turret, then it's going to push back to the Renekton. If he can shove the wave to the turret, a non-cannon wave to the turret, like really early on using his Tiamat and Q, then it'll reset in the middle. So you could potentially go in for a lane gank there. Okay. At least you reacted to this. You're also down on levels to this Warwick, which is bad news bears, because you're just not CSing well. Being a low impact jungler, my mans. You should be pinging to your team that like Warwick walked towards bot side because you saw him leave mid to go to bot. And if you're going to stay mid yourself, then like Warwick could potentially set up a dive, right? Like since Warwick knew you were mid, he could have just ran to the bot lane and then ulted this Draven under tower with Nautilus and Varus and killed him. That was like that. That Draven would have been dead in a higher elo game, in my opinion. This guy is like your saving grace. Getting the Rift Herald is one of the most important things that low elo people just don't really realize, and they like often don't get. Like so many times when I'm coaching people, they just don't. They just tell me, yeah, I never get Rift Herald. I never think to do it. So that's advice for you. All right. At least you got a good game there. The beautiful thing about Kha'Zix is it doesn't take much for this guy to like just snowball and do nuclear damage. Like that shutdown goal is massive for you. Yeah, you have more gold in the work just because of that. It's pretty funny. All right, here's Fed guy. You got it, yeah. GTFO. Good juke. Okay, he has no ultimate. I don't know if your teammates have communicated this to you, but it's clear that like in the beginning of this fight he doesn't have it because he didn't use it instantly. So, damn, that sucks. That fucking nah, we got the shutdown. So horrible. That would've been so much fat gold for you. All right, at least Draven got that one, cashed in. That was a really bad play by the Mordekaiser. Common thing in low elo is people who get fed, they really like throw plays like that. Like they don't really realize substantially what they're doing. But he like just gave your Nami like I don't know, somewhere of like 800 gold for his death. So it's really bad. And Draven's cashing in now. So things are kind of snowballing out of hand here for you. Like I mean, you guys now have, if you see it right, you guys actually now have more gold than enemy team. So like, let's just pause for a quick sec, right? Like you have same CS as Warwick, and like your Draven has less CS than the Varus, and obviously Nami has less. Like all across the board except for your top laner, like you guys are losing in CS, but like they just handed you a shitload of shutdown gold. So with the shutdown gold and the factor that Draven gets extra gold for kills, now you guys are ahead in gold. It's pretty comical. So yeah, at this point, you should be going for this dragon 100%. Like you should be doing this. You want to be pinging to your bot lane to come help you. They should be rotating. There's no plates to be had. They're literally just wasting your time. You should just be spam pinging them to come help you. Good thing Warwick like doesn't give a fuck. Mountain Dragon is just so crucial. Mountain Dragon is also really good for like early mountains can help you get plates and then help you get first turret, of course. So it's really important here. Nice. And this guy's dropping Rift. This guy's just your fucking solo carry right here. He's doing it big. You guys would be so screwed if this guy was dying to that Warwick. Yikes. Okay, so this is I think the part of the game where a lot of people get lost on like what to do next, right? Because there's no dragon, there's no Rift Herald, there's no nothing. So in this kind of scenario, like what your team has is the split advantage in the top lane. So there's also the fact that the bot lane turret is still up. So like you could have a rotation. I would assume that their bot would go top, like in a normal case. But you want to pretty much aim. You want to aim to get the first tower bot lane, or not first tower. You want to aim to get the bottom tower first, or you could play around the fact that you have a stronger split. So what happens when you have a stronger split is that your Renekton can shove this nest as far up to his tier 2, and then you guys can control the jungle vision in the top area. So why that's really good is because particularly for you as an assassin, if you catch somebody walking through the top jungle and they're vulnerable, you can kill them. So you can make picks on people as they're rotating because Renekton could shove up the turret and then he can like collapse on mid and help mid lane while Nasus is collecting the wave at the turret. And then if Nasus like decides he's going to rotate in, then you and like Renekton can like bushwhack him out of vision, for instance. Because he's going to feel obligated to go help mid after he sees Renekton dip out of vision because he thinks Renekton's going mid. But now that the mid turret's gone, you kind of lose that opportunity. You still have the stronger split, but they're gonna have more control over the map because you don't have the mid turret to run to. Your team's very obviously looking to fight here, so you should be paying attention and not farming. You should be ready to jump over the wall and assassinate this guy. He should have been dead. He should have been dead, but you were farming, so. Questionable flash. You didn't try to dodge his Q, so you lost the fight. It's very like whenever they take into shadow, the first thing you're gonna do is try to walk up to you and do their abilities. So you just want to sidestep. But he should have already been dead because you should have jumped over the wall when he was where this Nautilus's body was. So you missed that opportunity. And then you also like burned your flash to try to catch up, which like didn't really work out for you. So that's definitely something that's been constant through this game. Is you're like you go to farm camps and you just like stop paying attention to your laners. So you got to react. Like that was a situation where like you not paying attention because you were farming really hurt you. The one earlier you kind of got away with, but that was just luck. Like always react. Always stop doing the camps if you're in the area. I mean, if you're bot lane, if you're doing Krugs and your mid's getting ganked, all right, you probably can't get there in time. But like if you're doing Krugs and your bot's ganked, you need to leave. If you're on Raptors even, and it depends on like the situation. Like even going from Raptors to bot's really realistic. But I mean, you're not going to go bot to top. But anyway, so yeah, pay attention to your shit. And the reason why this game is going so poorly, obviously like the mid lost pretty badly, but that enemy team is just controlling the objectives because like your team's taking bad fights on like the part of the map, but like that's largely in part because you didn't have an impact in the beginning of the game. Like you didn't help your bot lane potentially win, and you didn't push the top lane advantage as hard as you could have. I mean, you pretty much just wasted a bunch of time and then farmed here and there. If you had gone top lane faster, then Renekton could have like rotated to other parts of the map and helped you do things right. Or you could have ganked bot. Mid was what it was. But you guys still have like, a lot of comeback potential because you have the Mountain Dragon, so like a big pick. Like I mean, this game's like far from over. Renekton's huge. It's good. You guys will get the mid turret, and then this opens back up pretty much what I was talking about, the split advantage. Like you want to like control like vision. Like the way that the mid game needs to be played, and then particularly as an assassin, is to control vision and play the map. So unfortunately, you guys don't get the mid turret, but you could still be pushing it. But you could easily rotate to the dragon here. Like I would shove this. I would shove one more wave and then just go do the dragon. Or you could solo the dragon by yourself. You want to make sure that your team's mostly on the same page, just because like. In case if I were to break out mid, like, it would be bad if they lost like a 2v2 when you really don't lose anything at all. But like I'm saying, the way that's going to be played is you would potentially control vision around dragon if that's the next objective, and then you would do the dragon when the next objective comes up. Because like the enemy team is going to try to fight for you for these objectives, right? So it could be Rift Herald, it could be dragon, it could be Baron. If you're controlling vision, you can bait them into walking into zones that you have darkened on their map, so they could walk into no vision, and then you guys can bushwhack them. And as an assassin, you want to catch people on rotations, like that again. Like you could have done a Q evolve this game. I don't see what you did second. You didn't do the spikes. Yeah, it looks like you did the Q evolve second. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, so you want to catch people in no vision, going on rotations and trying to come to objectives. That's how you prevent like the mindless ARAM that like occurs in like a lot of low elo games. This is kind of a case where like your team was out of position. You pick up a pretty good kill. Dang. Arcton died a little faster than I thought he would, honestly. Yeah, you're kind of out of resources, is what it is. Nash, this is a happy boy. What was he at? 351 stacks? I mean, 351 stacks at 21 minutes with his new Q is not that great, but it still hurts. Probably wanted to complete your tier. You might have wanted to complete your tier 2 boots a little earlier. Like, definitely not. I definitely would have completed tier 2 before serrated Dirk. Like at this point, like I mean, I feel like everyone on your team. You got a lot of people on brown bags right now, but like mobility is incredibly important for assassins. Like in order to like dip in and dip out. Probably this game, like I would have just got Merc Treads this game because I have like a shitload of unavoidable CC. I don't typically like to get Merc Treads on champions that are like assassins or champions that are like range carries like Kindred and stuff, but like they just have so much unavoidable CC between Wither, the Warwick, Q Fear, like Nautilus, so like that probably would have done you a lot of justice. So I would have. Yeah. All right, you got him now. Okay, that's good. That's good. You had a lot to go up to the base. It's just like mobility is incredibly important for assassins. So you definitely want to get like after warrior is pretty much when you want to look to get your tier 2. That was good. Unfortunately, they're pushing mid. I'm kind of ranting a little bit about the items, so I didn't pay attention much to what was happening on the map. But this is a really scrubby death. I won't lie. Your team is like pinging and shit. I don't really know what's happening there. He's kind of fucked too. He's really weak. Yeah, so it's died 11 times. Oh my god. I'm thinking I'll stop watching at this point, just because I think that what ends up happening from here is a real slobber knocker, and I don't want to keep this video like much longer than it already is. I'm sure it's already like 30 minutes. So, all right. Hope this helped. If you want me to continue watching the game, just let me know, and I'll do that. If you want to know like how you could have like came back on this game, but at this point it's mostly like a matter of like rotations, maintaining vision in your own jungle, because you guys are on like defense now. So, you know, like since all of your tier 1s and some of your tier 2s are already gone, like one of your tier 2s is already gone. That's all about like maintaining vision and like team fighting properly, not getting caught out, things like that. So like the things that you could do to win this game is just like help maintain vision, and if you see like Varus is out by himself, like try to kill him, or like as you start getting items, like once you hit like your black cleaver spike, like I guess you're going for the double lethality. And honestly, like I prefer to go the double lethality items, but in a game like this, I think black cleaver would have been much better for you because I have so many like beefy boys. So it just feels like you didn't really like adjust your build for that. So I would have gone Black Cleaver in that case, and then like once you have Black Cleaver, like you could potentially kill like the Warg out by himself, or like at least like do significant amounts of damage. So yeah, that's just kind of like what you like need to be doing. I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. I just want to see how close you guys bring it. I actually end up like becoming very close to victory here. Did you steal Baron or something? No, Mord got it. I guess you guys just won a large series of fights. Maybe he made picks. I don't know. Like I said, I don't watch. What happens? You guys just take a bad fight here and then they run it down. Yep. That sucks.